If one philosopher should be described as being extraordinary, then Friedrich Nietzsche would be one of the first names to come to mind. He was a German philosopher, cultural critic, composer, poet and philologist whose work shook the foundations of human society on many aspects, including culture, religion, philosophy, literature and psychology. He was one of the main precursors of existentialism, and his goal was to pave the way for the Übermensch, or superhuman, a superior and absolutely free man. Not only were his teachings extraordinary, but also his life, which was full of suffering, on an emotional, physical, and even career level. A good part of his life he lived as a shadow, wandering in the Alpine mountains, where he wrote some of the most magnificent books the world has ever seen. Some notable mentions are Thus Spake Zarathustra, Beyond Good and Evil, and Twilight of the Idols. Sadly, he didn't get much recognition and wasn't able to sell much of his work. At age 44, he had a mental breakdown while watching a horse being beaten by his driver. He ran over to the horse and said, "I understand you." He never recovered from this tragedy, and his mental breakdown took his life after 11 years. However, in spite of his tragic life, Nietzsche achieved through his work something extraordinary, and the world will forever read the work of a man who challenged existing paradigms and took human thought to higher summits. Nietzsche, despite being a controversial and often misunderstood philosopher, through his teachings wanted people to see the great height of their extraordinary potential and to break the chains which kept them prisoners in order to conquer their true freedom. And to help us understand those teachings, here are 10 lessons from the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche, which can teach you how to be extraordinary. Number 1. Be an essentialist. Nietzsche says, "It is my ambition to say in 10 sentences what others say in a whole book." Nietzsche always captivated his readers with his way of writing. He was genuine, brief, blunt, and he never liked to follow a system. He considered himself a revolutionary figure, writing for the next generations, which, he believed, might understand him better. He never liked to explain himself to the masses. Like a seducer, he was throwing bits of wisdom here and there throughout his books, inviting his true disciples to follow him in his labyrinth of wisdom by concentrating on what's really important, on what's true and essential, not worrying if his books will sell well or not, and not by compromising himself to gain anything. Nietzsche became an extraordinary philosopher. Following his example, we too can learn to be less concerned with the mundane and learn to focus on what's really important in our lives. We too can become essentialists by decluttering our lives in order to make room for what is essential. For example, we can start by decluttering our house, throwing away what we don't need, everything that we bought only to impress other people, but which does not represent us. In the same way, we can throw away people from our lives who do not bring value to us, with whom we are just friends for various reasons, sometimes only to gain something in return. We can throw away careers which don't represent us, which don't make us grow in the sense we want to grow professionally. Instead, we should direct our focus on what is truly essential, like our family, our lifetime dreams and goals, such as winning a musical contest or climbing Mount Everest, going to space, writing a book, being a business owner of a large company, taking a world tour, and so on. Don't do things in life in order to impress people, but rather do things that are essential to you, that represent who you truly are. An essentialist from the Nietzschean point of view is an individual with high self-esteem, with high goals and priorities. These are necessary traits to living an original and extraordinary life. Number 2. Be authentic. As Nietzsche said, I looked for great human beings, but all I ever found were the apes of their ideals. In his book, Twilight of the Idols, Nietzsche performs what he calls the philosophy with hammer, knocking on the secret doors of human psychology, taking out all the idols, and finding what is truly authentic and real. He discovered that most people followed a herd mentality, running away from their true selves. Consequently, very few people are real, authentic, and honest with themselves, because being authentic takes effort and courage. Nietzsche's teachings are all about owning yourself, becoming free and authentic. Finding ourselves is the true purpose of our existence. Self-discovery comes with self-owning. Owning oneself gives you the confidence to face what people throw your way, no matter how hard it gets. In order to build the muscle of authenticity, to have the courage to be yourself, you can start with simple things, with simple no's. Start with saying no to some of the demands of members of your close circle, such as family and friends, when they ask you to do something that you don't agree with, that you consider unfair or pointless. Then expand from there. For example, start to say no to your boss when the tasks you were given exceed your work responsibilities. Start to be authentic in all areas of your life. Be honest with yourself. Own the person you really are. By doing this, you'll also start new projects in life which can reflect the real you, like starting new hobbies or doing the things you really love, or confronting people you disagree with. Sometimes, being authentic, having the capacity to own yourself, is having the courage to start a fight, to regain your freedom. Being extraordinary starts with being an authentic version of yourself. Number 3. Look for wisdom, not knowledge. To quote Nietzsche, "Once and for all, there's a lot that I don't want to know. Wisdom sets limits, even to knowledge." A philosopher always extrapolates from his observations of other different fields of knowledge, from observing the life of other people, creating one's own concepts of what is truly important and real. Although a scholar at the beginning, an academic with a vast and deep knowledge of ancient Greece, and a renowned professor at Basel, Nietzsche got rid of this shell of himself, learning to focus on only a part of ancient Greek wisdom, on that part which interested him, and the one he considered valuable. Knowledge is gathered from learning and education, while wisdom is gathered from day-to-day experiences, and is a state of being wise. Nietzsche believed that knowledge instills a slave mentality. Nowadays, with so much knowledge at our disposal, many of us get trapped in a repetitive lifestyle. We stop reflecting on why we do the things we do, and we just blindly follow the current trends, without pondering on the implications of our actions. Instead of developing ourselves, becoming wiser, we take in information without really processing it. We become slaves of our environment. Especially in this era of technology, when we can have any type of information at our fingertips, it's very difficult to be selective. One way to do it is to take your time and to understand yourself, to decide on who you are and what you want to do in life. Then write a list of what kind of knowledge you need to get or interests you the most. Then go from there. You should put limits on anything else. Unsubscribe from the news feeds which are not related to your true interests. Avoid aspects of social media, reading or watching content that isn't relevant to you. Seek only high-quality information related to your goals in life and to who you really are.